It is now official. Government's calculated risk a few months ago of paying the second tranche of the B.T.L arbitration award, mostly in Belize dollars, has backfired, big time. Unable to reach an agreement with the Dunkeld Employees Trust tandem after appearing in court last Tuesday, Belmopan had to come to Port of Spain and the Caribbean Court of Justice today and take its medicine by video conference.
We were here last week and the court asked us to go away and try to settle this. Those of you who were in court last week would have gotten the impression, which is the impression we had, that the court was minded to go fully with us on this, and therefore proposals were exchanged between the parties, and I want to underscore the fact that my clients put forward proposals that were flexible, but in keeping with the fact that 50% was due and payable. We didn't reach an agreement, and so the court has now made an order for the full payment of the 50%, which is about, I believe, about $67 million, roughly, in US dollars. You also heard the presiding judge offer to the government an opportunity for a stay of execution or to say that they wanted time to pay, and that was declined, and they indicated that if they need time to pay, they would make an application to the CCJ. Listening to that, I'm assuming that very shortly we will receive full payment from the government, and that is only right because of how long outstanding this matter is.
Government's attorney, Senior Counsel Dennis Barrow, says it is a bitter loss, but one the government must accept.
As far as the court was concerned, it was a matter of interpreting the agreement as it was drafted. They thought that the agreement was badly drafted. That is, of course, a view which has to be respected. If it were left to me, I would say that the agreement was drafted in a way which at the time seemed entirely appropriate, seemed the right way for it to be drafted. Things change, and as a result, the draft which was come up with before things changed lost, I think, some of its foundation, lost some of its underpinning, and therefore it is now open to this interpretation which the CCJ has come up with, and the government fully respects the CCJ's decision and will obey what the court has decided.
Financial Secretary Joseph Waite says the government will dig deep into its reserves to satisfy the court. He explained how the transaction will work.
It will take a huge dent in our reserves. We do have reserves to cover the payment, but then what is left, it will be difficult. It will be difficult.
Okay, so when the Ashcroft Group then returns that money, it will mean that government will still have to find additional funds based on the calculations for you to then make that payment in US dollars. Does the government have that money?
No, the way I think it will work is this. The Belize dollars we paid will be returned to us. You remember we paid 133 million Belize dollars in addition to what we paid in US. Divide that by 2, you come back to about the 66 US dollars that the court has mentioned, but we would have to find 66 million US dollars out of our reserves, and that's a big number.
Ultimately, says Courtney, government could not get away from the fact that it had crafted the agreement at a disadvantage to itself.
My clients made very clear exactly what it is. It expected to get 50% of the final award. There was no qualification to that. That is simple and clear. The government of Belize, the Prime Minister, signed that agreement after having an opportunity to review, to revise, and to propose changes. That agreement that was signed by the Prime Minister binding the country is what the government committed itself to. Now, as to giving the arbitrators the ability to determine the ratio of the enhanced value compared to the real value of the shares, again, that was a formula that was put to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister made revisions. He had counsel advising him, and they agreed to the formula. The judges, as you heard them read out their judgment, made very clear that the agreement between the parties is that the amount to be paid to the trust is to come out of the second payment. That is crystal clear. You cannot, after you sign an agreement, things don't turn out the way you want them to turn out, attempt to renegotiate, attempt to redraft the agreement. And I think the court confirmed that today. And so it is not a matter of being unfair, it is not a matter of my client pulling a fast one. We went into this with all eyes open and both sides were advised.
Aaron Humes reporting for News 5.